Okay, we are now live. So thank you so much, wonderful Charlotte, for joining me in a spotlight session. I am so loving these spotlight sessions because we get to deep dive into your business, what it is you do, how you help people, and talk about how we've been working together. So I'm thrilled to have you here. Now, I'm going to hand the reins over to you in a moment. I'm going to share this as well, but this live will be for you if you want to grow your business in exceptionally challenging times. Charlotte has been homeschooling as well, and we have been working together for nearly a year. Is that right?
Just over a year.
Just over a year. And it's all going to be about how do you get out of your own way? How do you outsource the things when you tell me there's nothing we can do to remove and create capacity in your business? How do we create time that allows growth that you want in your business? So if you think that's you, if you're at max capacity and not sure how you're going to grow your business, this is going to be the perfect life for you. So Charlotte, can I hand over the reins to you while I just share this? And can you tell us a little bit about what it is you do and how you help your clients?
Yeah, so I'm the owner of a digital marketing support business. I work largely with female small business owners who are looking to grow their business through their websites primarily, using SEO and Google Ads strategies. So that's where I provide the strategy and implementation for them on basically take that element of marketing out of their hands so they can focus on doing what they do best in their businesses.
Yeah, and this is why we're so perfectly aligned, because you help people out, you outsource stuff to you that is outside of their talent zone.
Exactly.
And you stick to what is your talent zone. So yeah. Just tell us a little bit of like how you got into, how did you get into this? Like, tell us about your history and background.
So I've been doing it for a very long time, actually. So I changed career back in 2000, and I started off building websites. And then in 2003, I joined an agency and I became their head of search. And it wasn't really a thing in 2003. It was quite a new thing. And I worked for that agency for 10 years and they became a specialist tourism agency. They're now actually a kind of international brand. But after I had my son, I decided I wanted a bit more freedom and flexibility, to be able to attend school events and all that kind of thing. And also I felt like I live in the Lake District and there's a lot of tourism businesses here. There didn't seem to be much support in terms of digital marketing. So I thought there was a gap in the market that I would be able to work with small business owners locally.
And I know those small business owners took a real hit in the pandemic, didn't they? Because I remember when we first started working together, like a lot of your client base was local businesses, it was in the hospitality sector, it was in the accommodation sector. So could you just give people a little potted history of what it's been like in your world with when COVID hit, like last year? God, I can't believe that's a year ago now. So how did that affect your business?
So I have majority of my clients I work with long term. So I really get to know their business and feel kind of part of it really, and have helped with their growth over a number of years. And so, as you say, a lot of them were hospitality, weddings, suppliers. So at the end of March last year, all of a sudden 60% of my clients either completely cut their marketing or largely cut it back to kind of bare minimum. In a sort of panic at the beginning of the pandemic, they were all closed. So I went from like overnight, it was pretty much overnight, it just suddenly went. And I had no idea when or if they would be able to come back. So yeah, it was unprecedented, shall we say. It wasn't, I thought my business was completely safe. I had this retainer model and all of a sudden it had disappeared.
And we're going to talk about how you got through that and how your business is doing exceptionally well. And there seems to be like new leads coming in every time I speak to you. But the retainer model is something I'd love for us to discuss a moment, because there is something about consistent income, which just is, it's the goal, isn't it? Having people on retainers, having consistent income, it allows us that kind of financial security to know where we're at. We're not constantly relying on new leads to fill the top of our funnel, and we can maintain long-term great relationships. But of course, with that, you came to me with the challenge that actually you'd reached kind of almost capacity of the hours you wanted to work and the number of clients you could work with. And it was, I remember right in the early stages, this is pre-COVID, that we were discussing, okay, like, well, how do we reduce the amount you need to do with these clients, and how do we start growing a support team? And I use the word team lightly because it is about getting, a few hours. We were talking about outsourcing here and there to make a big difference. And I remember you saying to me, oh yeah, but there's nothing I can really outsource to start. There's nothing really. It all has to be me. So can you remember that time when we were talking and you were thinking that it all has to be you? How does that make you feel now, having worked with me for a year and going through Time to Lead program? How does that make you feel hearing when I say that?
Yeah, it's quite funny. I think, yeah, I had this thing about quality control, and that, that everything needed to be done by me because I had an eye on what I was delivering. The business was me. People were working with me, and therefore it all needed to be me. And I also felt like I didn't know how to convey to a possible team member how I worked. I didn't know the steps that I needed to take in order to provide that kind of information that they could then support in the way that I wanted to support my clients. So the time, so yeah, working with you and the Time to Lead program helped me with those, basically get over that mindset block and get this and work out what steps I needed to take in order to do that.
And I remember, at the time, okay, so you're almost full with clients. You're looking at like, how do I progress the business? You had 101 million ideas.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of business owners do. You'd already set up a new startup in a completely different field, in a product-based business, but you needed time to work on these things. And yet when we looked at your time, there wasn't any real like proper opportunity to work on these things. And so you were in that vicious cycle of working in the business, struggling to work on the business, because you were juggling all the plates, weren't you? You were that typical doer I talk about, with those 8 hands doing everything, and at home as well as business as well. And okay, so you're in that place. Like, let's go back to that time when you're juggling all the plates. You've got ideas, but you feel like you're at max capacity. And some of those ideas were course ideas and like passive income ideas. Some of them were product-based business ideas. So there's so many things you could do. But you're nervous. I remember holding your hand, being like, okay, this feels scary. We're talking about team. We're talking about losing control, like quality, like all these concerns are coming up for you. But why did you sign up for us working together? But what was it? Can you remember what it was that made you go, right, actually, I've got to just do this? Was there a tipping point? Was there a moment where you thought, no, I've got to step up. I've got to tackle this?
Yeah, and I mean, there must have been. I think we had a call, didn't we? We had a call in December 2019, and it was just a half an hour call, and I remember you talking to me and me thinking, I thought I'm about to burst into tears, because I'm at this point where I just feel overwhelmed. I feel stuck. I've built a successful business, but I can't see, it's not making me happy.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And you said, shall we work together? And I was just, instinct just said, yeah, I need to do this now. just for the work-life balance needs to be addressed. So that was the point.
Yeah, okay, thank you for sharing that. I bring that up because I think this will resonate with so many people. I talk about that in the chapter I've just written for the book I'm doing. I talk about superwoman imposter syndrome, and you know, and I see that with you, and that whole like feeling like we should do those things, you know. And I remember you and I having a conversation more recently around homeschooling. Can I just say, Charlotte's son won an award for how well he was doing with homeschooling. It's because Charlotte doesn't do anything unless it's perfectly. We'll talk about be perfect drivers in a minute, but that superwoman imposter syndrome comes out for so many of us in terms of that feeling like we should be the homemaker, we should be the caregiver for our child, we should do, you know, be the business owner, we should deliver things because clients are buying us, but we should also say yes to all these other ideas. And all of a sudden there's this massive pressure. And you know, ultimately superwoman doesn't exist. You know, we just have to, we have just learned to delegate super well. And I remember that, you know, if we talk about early stages of working together, bringing in your assistant for those first, I think it was like, you know, just a couple of hours a week or a few hours a month. And it was like, whoa, that moment. Tell me what it felt like, that moment when, you know, she delivered that piece of work that's normally you, which was a part that you didn't really enjoy doing, the reporting. When someone else delivered it, how did that feel?
It was brilliant. I felt so relieved and happy, especially because she delivered it perfectly the first month, because we'd gone through the process of at the time it felt like I was over detailed in the process that I wanted this particular piece of task to be produced. But it worked in terms of, you know, she delivered it perfectly. There was no feedback needed. So I was like,
yeah, breathe.
Yes.
And in terms of then, because you've worked with her for a while now, like how, because you put those foundations in place, how's that affected the relationship you've had over the past, you know, because you've kept someone and clearly she's doing a good job. Like how have those foundations supported to where you are now in business?
Well, she's actually doing more for me now. So I've actually expanded the task that she does for the business. So it's been great. It's freed me up so much. Like, it's given me the kind of headspace and the time to be able to focus on other areas of the business and life as well. So,
which we've all had to focus on with COVID, I know.
Yeah, and I've since then more recently got someone to help with another area of the business as well, and I felt much more confident about doing that, having taken the first step before.
This is fantastic. So we've talked about where you were at the beginning. We've talked about the challenges that happened with COVID. You lost like 60% or more of your business. So tell us where you're at today, business-wise, and how things are different for you.
So last year, I guess, after that drop, I kind of focused on, it actually gave me some time. So I actually focused on some of my home ambitions, things like exercising and eating well, and that has carried through. So I've got a lot better balance in terms of the business now. I'm not working all the hours. I guess, well, in terms of clients, towards the end of last year, I got back on track in terms of where I was before the business. And in the last couple of months, it's actually grown quite significantly, and I've got more leads coming in. So the business is grown since pre-COVID. It's recovered and grown again, but it doesn't feel, this time around, it doesn't feel overwhelming because I've got these support systems, people and systems in place now.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. So then if we were to put a number on it, Charlotte, and I haven't asked you to this pre-interview, so I'm sorry I'm putting you on the spot slightly, But in terms of, with you, it's like challenging because you know what I'm like. I like the facts and figures. I like to know like how many hours less are we working, or what our hours look like, and what's the percentage increase in terms of revenue. Now, again, this is quite challenging because we've had the like COVID knock everything out the park. But if you were to look at our time together, I don't know, over the last like 12 months, like where would you say your working hours now are versus where they were, and what about income?
So I'd say I think I'm working about 20 to 25 hours a month less than I was.
Okay.
And my income currently is 30% more than it was this time last year.
Now, off the top of my head, I can't remember. I would look if I could go back to our tracking notes, but you were working, what, about 30 hours a week normally?
Yeah.
So what we're saying is then you've reduced your working hours by 25% a month, and you've increased your turnover by 30%.
Yeah.
How does that, like, me saying that, what are your thoughts?
It's great. I mean, why wouldn't you?
I know, but the reason why I say that, Charlotte, is because anyone watching this, Charlotte is the most
I wouldn't have a year ago.
Yeah. She's the most humble, understated, she would never blow her own trumpet. And, you know, I'm privileged to have worked with Charlotte, but she's done this. Like, you are the one that has put these things in place. You know, I say to everyone, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And you chose to show up. You chose, when COVID happened, to stay in the room. You are one of the most consistent people I work with in terms of like coming in, taking action, sharing what feels scary, and letting us help you. And you should be so damn proud of yourself that in a world of turmoil, you have managed to not only build your business by 30%, but to go from, if that was it was before, we cut it by 60%, to grow by 30% now. Like, look, your hand's off my chart. Like, wowza, Charlotte, you are amazing. And the leads that are coming in, honestly, if anyone needs SEO help, Google help, like, it's massively underrated. There's not enough people that know the ton of technical ability that you do. Like, the opportunities for you are incredible. And if you need any SEO, Google support, Charlotte is the lady. She's the lady who gets tagged in all the Facebook groups because there's not enough expertise in it. And what I'm enjoying is this next phase we're going into, Charlotte, because you got your like done for you services, which I know people love, but there's also glimmer on the horizon of some other stuff coming up. So I'm going to really put you on the spot now. So what other plans have you got in 2021, Charlotte, in terms of new income streams?
Well, I would like to develop some kind of course. I haven't finalized it exactly yet. I need to do a bit more market research, etc. But yeah, that would be, I'd like to expand what I do to reach more people and to help more people, you know, people that perhaps aren't in a position to outsource monthly retainers, but would like to learn a bit about and be able to do a bit themselves to grow their businesses. Because I think there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of missed opportunities. People have websites, but they're really not making the most of some quite simple things that they can do that will really make a big difference.
And one of our other like clients in Time to Lead was telling me about some tips you'd given her, and you'd got her like onto like, tell me some success stories you've had with some of your clients in terms of rankings and what they've gained from working with you.
I've got a photographer client who has done his business has grown. Well, in February he had 4 times as many sales online as he did last February. And I mean, yeah, I mean rankings. There's a lady in Time Lead, and I've got her onto the first page for her campsite. It's just, yeah.
She was telling me about it. It's so exciting.
Yeah, it's just things like that, and I do genuinely get very excited when I can do that for people.
And that's the thing.
Yeah, I've got another client who's she's a fashion retail boutique shop in London, and obviously at the beginning of the pandemic she had to close the shop, and all her business, well, 70% of her business was done through the shop. And in the last year we've actually pivoted the business to be 100% online. So not only has she survived, but she's thriving, and she was featured in the Times this weekend as one of the best boutiques in the country. So yeah, I mean, so that was a great
major player in that. I know you sit there very humbly being like, yeah, this is my role, but I know you make such a big influence on people, and your knowledge of the online world is fantastic. And when we start talking about anything to do with Google stuff, I mean, honestly, you know me, I'm a complete technophobe, but I think why people stick with you for such a long time as well, Charlotte, is that you are such a trustworthy person, and the values of your business are the values of you, and that humbleness, that wanting to do the best for people, that complete transparency and honesty, set people up well, people get long-term sustainable results. Like, that's what I'm all about too. And you are 100% about driving those things. And there's no you're in it for the long run with people, and you want to see long-term success. So yeah, I can see why so many people join you and want to stick with you, and even in the pandemic want to come back. I know you've had a lot of people saying like, my hospitality business isn't ready yet, but when I'm going to come back to you, and we're going to need to free up some more space, because it really is a boutique agency, isn't it, that you're creating. And now we've got confirmation, 2021, not 2020, Skye getting the right year, is going to be the year of the course as well. So I'm very excited about that. So could you mind sharing, you kindly talked about, putting some systems in place and obviously getting the right support in place, but what would you say is kind of one of your biggest takeaways from working together through Time to Lead?
I think it's about it's working out what you're good at and what you don't need to do, and what tasks. I think one of the big things from Time to Lead is actually sitting down and working out what you do, and then on a day-to-day basis. And sometimes it's quite surprising what your time is spent on, what time you waste on certain things. So like I've just identified, it's one of those, the program is something that you can go through repeatedly, because what I've identified recently is new to me, even though I've been doing it all the way along. So it's about identifying your strengths, and then setting up, the processes, and the systems, and the team members, and how to communicate effectively to get the results that you want.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's so many things, and having the support there and the accountability has also been brilliant.
We love an accountability and Time to Lead. We call it loving accountability. I do it because I care, but sometimes we have to get the stick out, don't we? Like, Charlotte, get that Be Perfect driver, put it to one side. Let's move that out of our own way. I've had to do that this weekend, oh my God. And let's just get this done, because we can all sit on stuff. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you want to take my Success Drivers quiz and identify what are those things inside you that are your biggest strength, but also could be holding you back, and how to overcome that. So the Success Drivers quiz. Okay, could you give some advice? So someone who is in that place where you were in that doer spot, you're battling, you're spinning all the plates, you're thinking, oh my gosh, if I step out of this, all the plates are just going to fall down. And what we know in Time to Lead, what we do is we move people into the manager phase, which is when you're still everything in control of the business, but you're able to delegate effectively, you're able to make the decisions, and you're doing the bits that you do best, and managing the business, not winging it anymore. Anyone in that position where they're like plate spinning and feeling like really like overwhelmed and not sure what to do, what advice would you give that person?
Well, join Time to Lead.
Well, thank you. That's lovely. But is there anything else? So people who would be then, okay, let's go one step further, frightened because they don't want to grow a team, they don't want to have people, they don't, they're frightened, they think systems is just tech. Like, it's because what we do is like big girl stuff. Like, we have to put our big brave pants on and put in the foundations. What happens if someone's happy just running around with post-it notes and being a lone wolf? Like, what advice would you give that person that's frightened to change?
Well, I guess, think about, do you still want to be doing that in 5 years' time? Is it the best use of your time? Are you enjoying your business, or are you being led by, is your business leading you as it was me? And I think getting somebody to help you to get through those fears is so important. Sometimes you can't do it on your own. You can't see the benefits until you actually do it. You just have to trust that they will appear, and they do. I mean, I've been surprised, when I've had fears around outsourcing, and I've just been so pleasantly surprised at all stages of it. Sometimes, you just have to.
But and that's wonderful. But there are so many people that have been burned because they don't do it right.
Well, exactly.
I don't know if you've had a bad experience in the past, or whether I'm thinking of someone else, but so many people have bad experiences of outsourcing, and they're like, I can't do it. But you're a real testament, and I'm big on building in-house teams. But you're a real testament of using freelancers to, when done right, when it's in the way that you want to work for your business, can have a huge positive impact on business growth and your time. When you say the difference though between like the business running you and you leading the business, like, can you give someone a practical example of what that felt like, what that meant for you? Like, what was it like before and what's it like now? Have you got any kind of comparison you could share? That's
I suppose it's like, you wake up in the morning and you've got, right, I need to do these 5 million things today, and not having the space and the time to kind of reflect and think, actually, are these things necessary? What could I be doing? What else could I be doing in the business? I think now I have a much sort of calmer approach, I feel much more in control. I feel able to be, more set clearer boundaries with clients and with myself around work, when I do it, which clients I take on, the whole process of onboarding, what gets delivered, how that can be simplified. There's so many things, there's so many elements. I think I understand the different areas of my business better as well, and how they can be run more effectively.
That's a really key point. Actually running a business and not just having a job.
Yeah.
You as the, technically as the expert in your business is one thing, but actually running it as a business is very different. It's a very, very different skill set. One that I had to learn, and the one that I help others to make. I really appreciate your time. Is there anything else you feel you want to share, or anything else you want to bring to this interview? No, perfect. Well, Charlotte, thank you so much for joining me today. I have really, really enjoyed hearing your story and hearing about your strengths, and thank you for sharing about your positive experience with Time to Lead. I really appreciate it. How do people connect with you? Because I'm sure there'll be people here thinking, oh my goodness, I've been thinking about like Facebook ads and stuff, but I've never thought about Google ads, and I've been thinking about what this looks like, but I've never thought about how I've never thought about auditing my website. I've all that kind of stuff that I know you've got great offers and ridiculously good value, Charlotte. How do people connect with you?
Well, the main place is my website, which is charlottedavies.com.
Perfect. That as well in the notes too. So charlottedavies.com, wonderful. And thank you so much. I want to highlight to everyone here that Charlotte is a really good example of where just consistent action, showing up, doing the work, doing the things, and keeping going, even in times of struggle, even in times of challenge. Like, you never once gave up. And now you get to reap the rewards of, you know, as you said yourself, working 25% less and now growing the business. And, you know, we're going to double this business this year. That's what's going to happen. And we're going to be doing the new income stream. Poor Charlotte, I've got lots of plans for her. But thank you so much. I'm very privileged to be working with you, and charlotte.com, which we'll link below. Thank you.
Thank you.